I'm a little confused on Luke Rockhold, guys. Did you see this announcement? Luke goes over, he speaks with Ariel, and I mean, let me back you up. Let me back you up to perhaps the most entertaining fight that Luke Rockhold ever had, which was his last one with Paulo Costa. I mean, just from an entertainment standpoint, there was more moments in there. There was more listening to the entire crowd of 16,000 people in Salt Lake going, there was more of that in that 15 minutes. Luke Rockhold used to be the world champion. I mean, he was doing main events, not just within the UFC. 25 minutes fights, huge surprise the night that he takes out Jacare, just by example. And there was more wow moments in a fight that he did not win a single round of. I mean, I'm just sharing for you, like, I don't know that Luke Rockhold has ever been in higher demand. And he grabs the microphone, he says, I'm out of here. He says, I'm done. And I remember as the viewer just going, oh no, you can't hold the guy accountable for anything he says right after the fight. You know, you get some local yokel that goes in there and calls out George St. Pierre right after. Like, you can't, there's nothing. Just give him a minute. But I kind of thought that's what it was going to be for Luke. That, hey, he's tired. He's disappointed on the outcome. It was a return fight. He's been sampling 205. He's been playing back at 185. Like, just give him a minute. He doesn't know what a good fight he had. This is just a thought that I had right there in that moment. And it looks like I was pretty close to accurate because Luke has come out and said he is not retiring. He's coming back, but he's a free agent. Now, free agency, generally what we hear is I will fight anywhere but here. But what it actually means is I can fight anywhere, including here. Now, I understand where that would be unusual. That'd be very unusual that Luke becomes a free agent from the UFC and then returns to the UFC. But just so we have the vernacular right, means he can go anywhere. In any weight class that he had worked out. In any country, in any organization, and quite frankly, in any sport. And Luke even talked about that. He said something about boxing. And that's just one that fighters are going to continue to bring up. There's nothing you can do to get them to stop. There's also nowhere to go box. I mean, it is one of those really weird ones. Conor McGregor boxed. And when did he do that, guys? Was that in 15? 16, 17? It was a while ago, though, wasn't it? And no one before Conor from our sport's done it. And no one since Conor from our sport has done it. But golly, they sure talk about it. I mean, they keep talking about it as though it's an option, as though there's somewhere to go. And, hey, let me get my bag packed and I'll head over to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. They got this boxing card going on tonight. It's one of these things, and you can't make them stop. And I'm not against seeing Luke go out there and box. What I'm sharing for you guys is I'm confused. If he's going to do MMA, I think that he's right where he needs to be. I think he's in very high demand. I think I could think of a number of You want to know a match that needs to happen? It's not going to happen. We're never going to get it. You want to know a match that should have happened? The rematch between Luke and Weidman. That fight was such a great fight, and it never got its credit. Luke was an underdog that night. Like, we all knew he was really good, but he's not on Weidman's level. I mean, this is kind of how this was perceived. It was a really great night. And the rematch never happened. As a matter of fact, I never even really heard talk of a rematch. And I'm just sharing for you. Weidman's on his way back. We could get those guys, right? If it's not going to be champions and it's not going to be contenders, they still need something to do. Do you have a better idea? Including free agency. Is there somebody in a different organization you'd rather see with Luke more than what I just suggested? And perhaps the answer is yes, but let's get a little conversation going. Because I do like the idea. And I do think it would be a little bit of a shame for Luke to walk out when he's at his height. People love him, they want to see him. And it was interesting that he set that boxing thing down. I mean, if I can go back to that, Because Luke's not a fool, right? Luke's not like some of these other guys. He understands, unless I'm in there with Jake Paul, I'm not in there at all. He understands that. And there does appear to be like just a little bit of wiggle room on what is old Jake doing. Now, I don't think that Jake is going to go the MMA route. I don't think he's going to go with the older guys. I'm just suggesting for you that Luke tried to set this down and walk out the door, but I happen to pick up on it. He tried to just set this little idea down and scurry up, but there might be something more to it. And if Luke is coming back, I suppose you would also have to consider 205 pounds. So now you got two weight classes. You got 85, you got 205, you got any organization you want, and you apparently have two sports, boxing and MMA. But with that said, is there anything that you think would draw as much, would promote as much, would likely as pay as much, would be as competitive, would be as interesting, and would have the storyline and make as much sense from an X's and O's, right? Your age, your height, your resume, than Luke versus Weidman? Just a thought, just a suggestion. I'm just asking a question, but I would like an answer.